It's an election we have to win. We're not going to have a country left if we don't win this election. When you can say about a story that you made up that you know is fake, that my son is going to go to jail because of the story.
How do you deal with that as a father?
Why are we hundreds of billions of dollars more money? Why is this happening? Why is Europe spending a fraction of the money that we're spending? There are so many different things about that that are just wrong. They say there's nobody else that can straighten out this country.
You know, we all have a personal truth. You know, it's that what we believe about ourselves when we don't have our mask on, when we don't, you know, I put on a nice suit. You know, I'm going to see the president here.
Nice suit.
I want to be credible.
Looks good.
And we, you know, we put our best foot forward when we step out into the world. But we do have a personal truth that what we believe about ourselves at our most vulnerable, when nobody's looking, nobody's listening. Maybe it's 3 o'clock in the morning, we wake up looking at the ceiling, thinking, what the hell am I doing? What do you say to yourselves when the crowds aren't cheering? When you're home alone, you're riding in the car, you're by yourself. What is the hardest, darkest moment that you can think of in this journey you've been on the last several years?
You have to be very strong. You're fighting off very evil forces, and they're very smart forces. There are people that control Biden, totally true. I think I know who they are largely. But there are people that control them. They're very smart, very energetic. Possibly they're real believers, you know, what their sick ideology is. But you have to be smart, and you have to have confidence. I mean, you have to have a certain confidence. The other thing is, I realize over the years, you know, I've been through a lot, great and bad. You know, I won the presidency. Everybody said, how are you going to do? How good is that? It was the most incredible evening, one of the most incredible evenings in the history of the country. Look at the celebration. I mean, it was incredible. But you also go through bad. I also I understand fully that the bad also disappears. In other words, you'll go through bad moments and it disappears. It's sort of funny because I've watched your show a lot over the years. See, I'm not ashamed to say it because some people say, oh, you watch Dr. Phil. Well, you know, your show is a very smart show. And I've watched you ask a question similar to that to some couple or and they break down, oh, they start crying on the show. I said, that's never happening to me. If that happens to me, that's the end of my political career. I think actually maybe people would like me better. But I'll tell you, you need strength. You have to have strength. And people don't want to see that. I've watched so many people, you break down people, they don't even know they're being broken down. But it's different.
Well, that's the last thing I want to do with you, but I do want people to know you. I want people to know every aspect of you, and I know it about myself. I know that not every time is a great day, not every time is a hard day.
I thought you led a charmed life. You never had a problem in your life, right?
Yeah. I watched you during that trial. That's not a fun time.
You know, it was an icebox. That courtroom was so cold.
Really?
And I believe it was set that way by the judge. That courtroom was freezing. You know, I'd call it the icebox, right? I say, I just sat through 4 hours, and I'm not campaigning by doing that. That's what angered me. They're taking away my voice. They're keeping me in this icebox, and they're taking away my voice. But, you know, one thing that's, you bring it up, and you haven't asked me the question yet, and I'm sure you will, although I know we've been doing this for quite a while, and it's an honor to do it. But the hardest part for me is probably my family, because it's very unfair to my family. I have a very good wife. She reads this crap. I have great kids. You know what amazed me? I gave up my salary. I didn't take salary. And it's $450,000, approximately $450,000 a year. So, you know, it's still money. It's a couple of $1 million. I never had a good story saying I did. I'm not looking for a story. What surprised me is there was a couple of stories. Who else did it? Nobody. Everybody took. I figured maybe Kennedy, it's a pretty rich family. I figured the only one that may have done it was George Washington. You know, George Washington was a very wealthy landowner. And they said the only one that may have done it is George Washington. I figured Roosevelt, maybe FDR. You know, there were some pretty rich presidents. Every president took their salary. Bush's took their salary. I didn't take my salary. I gave it up. And every month, I'd get a call from the fake news. Because, you know, you can't really give it up. You have to give it to an organization within government. You're not allowed to actually give it. So what happens, you get the check and then you give it to Health and Human Services, or you give it to the Navy, or you give it to the Army, or something. And every month they say, did you give it? Did he give it? And when you show them that you gave it, there was no story. And it was just interesting to see. The whole system is rigged. I mean, it's just a nasty system. But the saddest is, I'll give you one quick example. I have a son, Don. He's a good kid. And he wants to help people. And they said he was involved with Russia. He knows less about Russia than that young person sitting right over there, who I'm sure knows nothing about Russia. And it was Adam Shifty Schiff, a bad guy. And he comes out of a so-called intelligence meeting, and he goes to a microphone, and there's a lot of press gathered, because this was during the Russia hoax, total hoax. It had nothing to do. 5 million phone calls, I had not one phone call to Russia. It was a hoax, and it came out that way, and it's nice, but it took 2.5 years. And by the way, it was very dangerous, because at least Putin understood it was a hoax. You know, he used to say, he thought we were crazy, to be honest with you. He thought we were crazy. But Don, so they'd say, Adam Schiff comes out and says, Donald Trump Jr. will go to jail because of what he's done with Russia. And it was Adam Schiff and Hillary Clinton and some others in the DNC that they made up a story. Think of how bad you have to be. You make up a phony story about Russia, the Russia hoax. You have the dossier, you have the whole thing, it's all fake. They paid $12 million or something for the dossier, $12 million. They gave this guy Steele a fortune to do a fake story. It's called the fake dossier, right? Mm-hmm. They go to my son. They know it's fake. It's not like they think it's real. They know it's a fake because they made it up. And they say, Donald Trump Jr. will go to jail. So I call up my son. I said, are you okay? Is there something I don't know? How bad do you have to be when you can say about a story that you made up that you know is fake, that my son is going to go to jail because of the story?
How do you deal with that as a father? Because I've had it happen to me. You've met Jordan.
Yes.
And my other son, Jay. I've had stories about them, and it infuriates me.
I called him up. I knew it wasn't true, but I said, hey, this guy, these are not stupid people. I call him Watermelon Head. He's got the thinnest neck I've ever seen, how it holds up that head. He's got a neck that's about a size 6. Very unattractive guy, both inside and outside. And people say, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. It's okay. Very unattractive guy. Here's the thing. These are bad people. And it's not easy to deal with. You know, when you have your kids involved or your family, your wife, and you read stuff, most of it is untrue. It's just totally untrue. But think of that. They make up a story and then they say your son's going to jail for something that they know is false. These are bad people.
Is that harder to take than when they're talking about you?
Yeah, for me it is. For me, I've become different. Maybe it would have been tougher. I think the fact that I have such unbelievable support helps me a lot. It doesn't bother me.
Has it bothered you? Has there been blowback on Barron because he's younger and more vulnerable?
It's not easy. And he's a great kid. He's a good student. He's got accepted to different colleges. He's got some of those colleges, all of a sudden they're rioting all over the place. You know, you're saying, but he's a good boy. He's a tall boy. He's very tall. He's very tall. And he's a great kid. He's a good-looking kid. And, he's going to be going to college. But he doesn't say it. And I think he doesn't say it because he doesn't want to hurt me. And he thinks it's possibly a hurtful conversation. But it has to affect my family. And I think that's really unfair because I have a very good family. I have good kids. I have a wonderful wife. I mean, it's not easy for her to read this kind of stuff. That's fake. That's fake stuff. But that's the way it is. It certainly is not a good thing. And it affects me more than it would if it were just about me. I wish it could be just about me.
How's she holding up through all of this?
I think good, but I don't think it's an easy thing for her. And I think if it wasn't good, she wouldn't want to tell me about it, to be honest with you, because, she sees that I'm fighting like hell. I'm trying to become president and make America great again. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make America great again. They put tremendous obstacles in our way, including the 20 million people that are going to be in here by the time this guy gets out. It's an election we have to win. We're not going to have a country left if we don't win this election.
Have you ever thought that the toll that it takes on your family is too much?
Maybe not in the way you expressed. That's a very interesting way of expression, actually, of that question. I haven't really. I think to a certain extent, I think that my family wants me to do it. Our country's in trouble. We could be in a world war very soon. We're going to end the problem. Think of it. We're going to end Ukraine fast. I'm going to end it fast. I know both. I know Zelensky. I know Putin very well. I'm going to get it ended. That is a horror show that's going on over there. But think of it. Why are we hundreds of billions of dollars more money? Why is this happening? Why is Europe spending a fraction of the money that we're spending? There are so many different things about that are just wrong. But my family's good. My family loves this country, and I think they feel that I do a good job. Look, we had the most successful country we've ever had during my time. We had the greatest economy in history of any country.
Do they want you to run, or do they tolerate you running?
An interesting question. Well, they tolerate it, but
They at least tolerate it.
Yeah, they tolerate it. I think they love the country. I think they think that I do a good job. I think they feel that a lot of people say that this is nobody. I get it so often, and I'm not sure it's right. They say there's nobody else that can straighten out this country. And again, Viktor Orban said just recently, he's a strong man from a very interesting country, and he knows Russia very well. He knows Zelensky very well. He knows Ukraine. But he said the only one, Hungary, he said the only one that's going to straighten this out is Trump. Because he didn't use the word respect. He used the word, they were afraid of him. I don't want to say that about these people, these other leaders. I don't want to say they were afraid. I'm not going to use that term. But let's use the word respect. They respected me. They respected me, and they respected our country. And they knew if they played games, I was going to hit the hell out of them with tariffs and lots of other things. We have a lot of weapons, not just military weapons. I rebuilt our entire military, by the way. Our entire military is rebuilt. And this person that we have leading us, if you can call the word leading with quotes, he gave away $85 billion worth of brand new military equipment in Afghanistan. In my opinion, the lowest day in the history of our country. I think probably the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country was what happened, the way we pulled out of Afghanistan. We left people behind. We had 13 soldiers who I met the parents. They're devastated, killed. Nobody ever talks about, you would talk about them. I put them right up the top. 38 soldiers who are no arms, no legs, faces just wiped out. They're trying to live, trying to live. Nobody ever talks about them. They talk about 13 dead, absolutely. But they don't talk about 38 soldiers that have been wiped out. And then hundreds of people were also killed. Hundreds of people where this madman set off a bomb. Should have never left them. They should have been in Bagram. We should have kept Bagram. Bagram is 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. We gave it up. You know who's occupying Bagram right now? China. Yeah. China. We gave the biggest Air Force base, one of the biggest runways, one of the most powerful runways, 8 foot thick of concrete, built when the dollar was very big, okay? Years ago. We gave it to the Chinese. It should have never happened. What we've done, I think that was the most embarrassing day. And I have to tell you, if that didn't happen, I don't know that Putin would have gone in. I think Putin watched that catastrophe and he said, hey, this is a great time to attack Ukraine.
You think it emboldened him?
I think so, yeah, I think so.